Hi, it's Katrina! From Cleopatra's Palace to 5,000-year-old cities rediscovered, here are 9 amazing underwater cities and structures. Number 9. The Lost City of Neapolis. One of the more recent discoveries of an underwater metropolis was that of the ancient Roman city of Neapolis. The once thriving urban center was submerged by a tsunami over 1,700 years ago, during the 4th century AD. Scientists eagerly began searching for it in 2010 and finally located it in 2017 off the northeastern coast of Tunisia. The massive city occupies over 50 acres of sea floor, and after looking around at the ruins, it was clear that the historical accounts of it being taken by a tsunami were accurate. Ironically, the city's loss in 635 AD was well documented. Historian Ammian Marcellin made note of the event, and it was also recorded that the earthquake that caused the tsunami that took out Neapolis, which means new city in Greek, also hurt the cities of Alexandria and Crete. Following the long-awaited discovery of Neapolis, an exploration of the site turned up monuments and street signs. Over 100 tanks that were used to create garum, a fermented fish-based condiment that was popular in ancient Rome, were also found during the archaeological mission, indicating that Neapolis was the largest producer of garum in the ancient Roman world. Monir Fantar, the head of the joint Tunisian-Italian mission, cited the finding of Neapolis as a major discovery. Number 8. Cleopatra's Palace. If you dive deep into the waters off the coast of the historic Egyptian city of Alexandria, you'll find what was once the living quarters of the legendary Queen Cleopatra. You'll also find a temple dedicated to the goddess Isis, who Cleopatra was thought to be descended from. You're probably wondering, how did this ancient marvel end up at the bottom of the sea? Well, the answer to this is not exactly known, but scientists think an earthquake that occurred in the year 365 was to blame, although it's possible that a tsunami was the culprit. The Royal Palace and its surrounding remains were discovered in 1980. A French-Egyptian team of explorers led by French archaeologist Frank Gaudio began excavating the site in 1998, and expeditions to find artifacts and treasures within it have been ongoing ever since. According to Gaudio, the palace ruins were Ptolemaic, indicating that the structure was abandoned shortly after Cleopatra's suicide in 31 BC. While the Ptolemaic ruins remain isolated and appear to have occupied the sunken island of Antiochos, the half-square-mile site also contains ancient Greek and Roman ruins. At last count, over 140 artifacts have been discovered at the site, and given the prominence and importance of the buildings, the items are no doubt extremely valuable. Since 1996, tentative plans to build an underwater museum in the port of Alexandria have been considered on and off. Number 7. Heraklion. Cleopatra's home wasn't the only ancient place Egypt lost to the waters of the Nile Delta. In 2000, a team led by Frank Gaudio, again of the European Institute for Underwater Archaeology, discovered the lost city of Heraklion in a place called Aboukir Bay, 2 kilometers off the coast of Alexandria. By now, the name Frank Gaudio should be familiar. It's not your imagination. He led the team of archaeologists that began excavations on Cleopatra's Palace. During its life above water, Heraklion was an important city to Egypt and was even called the gateway to the country. It was so important that when it was taken by the oceans, it was named the Lost Kingdom of Cleopatra. So what happened to the city? Well, scientists believe that a combination of earthquakes, tidal waves, and even floods forced the city into the water, not unlike Cleopatra's home. As a key port town for the city, there's no doubt that Egypt had to recover from the loss in terms of both land and economic loss. Prior to the discovery of Heraklion, its name only existed in ancient classic texts and inscriptions that were discovered on land. If not for the diligent search efforts of Gaudio, his team, and other contemporary scholars, its ruins may have been lost to the damages of time and the elements, and its existence, therefore, would have remained in question indefinitely. Number 6. The Atlantis of the Caribbean. Off the western coast of Cuba, more than 2,000 feet below sea level, lies a series of stone structures that appear to be the ruins of an ancient city. The discovery was first made in 2001 by a marine engineer named Pauline Zalitsky and her husband Paul Weisenweg. The couple owned a company called Advanced Digital Communications and were working jointly with the Cuban government on a survey mission off the tip of the country's Guanacabibe Peninsula. While Cuba's waters are known to contain hundreds of sunken ships from the Spanish colonial era, nobody knew of any underwater cities. As the survey team scanned a 2-kilometer area using advanced sonar equipment in hopes of finding some of these sunken ships, they instead happened upon the ancient city. After the initial findings, geologist Manuel Iturralde accompanied the team on a return visit to the site. Using a remotely operated vehicle, they observed complex stone structures that appeared to be man-made. The discovery perplexed Iturralde, who explained that it would have taken some 50,000 years for the ruins to sink to their depth of more than 2,000 feet. He further pointed out that 50,000 years ago, no known cultures possessed the architectural capacity to construct such elaborate structures. A media frenzy ensued, with some reporters speculating that the lost city of Atlantis had been found. This idea was quickly dismissed by Zalitsky, who noted that the city was once located on a land bridge that linked Cuba with Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Because of the unexplainable depth of the ruins, some skeptics, such as Keith Fitzpatrick Matthews from the website Bad Archaeology, have written off the entire story as impossible and therefore false. Little else is known about the intriguing site, which has not been further investigated as far as I know. Number 5. The Shore Temple. Located in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu is an ancient city known as Mahabalipuram, which was ruled over between the 3rd and 9th centuries by the Pallava dynasty. The Pallava kings were responsible for the construction of the 7 pagodas of Mahabalipuram, a series of temples with only one visible surviving structure. The remaining 6 are believed to be submerged underwater. In an attempt to prove that the 7 temples actually exist, researchers embarked upon underwater investigations. According to an article published in May 2004, their investigations proved to be somewhat fruitful, with the discovery of a series of stone walls that appeared to be man-made. That same year, as the ocean waters receded prior to a catastrophic tsunami, witnesses observed a long, straight row of large rocks, which was quickly covered back up as the deadly wave rushed toward the land. In the aftermath of the unfortunate natural disaster, some structures indicating the presence of nearby underwater ruins appeared on the beach, including a statue of a lion and a half-finished stone relief of an elephant. The investigation of the site is ongoing. So far, some chiseled stone blocks, a wall, and a short flight of stairs have been discovered 800 meters from the shoreline, roughly 8.5 meters beneath the water's surface. Number 4. Port Royale. When you hear the words Port Royale, you may be reminded of a town in the popular movie Pirates of the Caribbean, but this was, in fact, a very real town. And if you want to go and see it for yourself, it can currently be found beneath the waters near Jamaica. Oh, and yes, pirates used to be here. Once set in Kingston Harbor, this was a pirates' go-to place when they wanted some R&R from their lifestyle of pillage and plunder. Pirates far and wide came to Port Royale from as far away as Madagascar. Not surprisingly, Port Royale served as a hotspot for debauchery and even earned the nickname the wickedest city on earth. Here, people could freely engage in vices such as gambling, drinking, sex, and other indulgences, and these attractions made Port Royale a wealthy city indeed. Port Royale was built in 1512 and lasted until 1692, when a massive earthquake tore it off the land and sank it into the sea. Several archaeological expeditions have been conducted in Port Royale, which has helped shed light on its history, and numerous artifacts have been found as well. It almost makes you wonder what this town was like in its prime, with all the pirate ships and pirates walking about. Number 3. Atlit Yam. Atlit Yam is a prehistoric megalithic settlement from the Neolithic era. You'll find this place just off the shores of Haifa, Israel, and the home itself is dated to be around 9,000 years old, which is incredible given that by the time it was discovered in 1984 by marine archaeologist Ehud Galiti, it was nearly perfectly preserved. Even more surprises came following further investigation of the settlement, including stores of food that still had bugs in them, and a semicircular arrangement of 7 megaliths, weighing up to 600 kilograms each at the center of the site. Dozens of human remains were also found, proving definitively that people lived here before and during its sinking. 2 of the skeletons were determined to be the world's oldest known tuberculosis victims. There's also a well that ceased to function before the settlement's demise and was thereafter used as a disposal pit. But without a doubt, the biggest mystery about the site is how it ended up in the water. Maria Pareschi of the Italian National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology in Pisa has suggested that the settlement may have been wiped out by a tsunami following the eruption of Mount Etna some 8,500 years ago. Other scientists have noted that the site at Atlit Yam appears to have been abandoned around the same time. Number 2. Underwater city in the Gulf of Cambay. In 2001, as a team of scientists from the National Institute of Ocean Technology conducted scans of the Gulf of Cambay off the western coast of India, they made an intriguing discovery 120 feet below sea level, a series of man-made structures resembling an ancient city. Furthermore, they found human remains, which suggests that this wasn't an abandoned city, but rather one that met an involuntary end. Further pointing to this possibility were indications that the city was undergoing an expansion when it ceased to exist, which means that it was taken underwater before they could finish those plans, whatever they were. But the biggest reveal came when the human remains were determined to be around 9,500 years old, meaning that the city still existed during the last ice age. Given what we know about how the Ice Age ended, it's very possible that this city was swallowed into the Gulf of Cambay after the ice melted and sea levels rose. While the validity of this claim is widely disputed, if the city is in fact as old as it seems, it would be the oldest city ever found and would constitute a discovery of mythical proportions, one that challenges the commonly held notion throughout the scientific community that well-organized communities did not exist prior to 5,500 BC, or around 7,500 years ago. Number 1. Pavlopetri. In terms of undisputed facts, Pavlopetri is the oldest underwater city ever found. The 5,000-year-old city is located 4 meters beneath the water's surface in the Peloponnesus region of southern Greece. Pavlopetri spans 322,917 square feet of the sea floor. But it wasn't just big. The city was also incredibly well planned and contained multi-level structures, roads, temples, a cemetery, and an impressive water management system complete with pipes and channels. There was also a 20 by 40 meter square plaza at the city's center. Evidence shows that Pavlopetri was inhabited sometime prior to 2800 BC, and the city is even mentioned in Homer's The Iliad. It's believed that an earthquake around 1,000 years ago sunk the entire city at once, hence its remarkably intact layout. In 2016, the city was listed on the World Monuments Watch, a list of at-risk heritage sites issued by the World Monuments Fund. Thanks for watching! What did you think of these underwater cities? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.